Hi, I'm Ray Geroff. I'm a district heritage biologist for the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and this is the Prairie Farm Podcast.
I'm Mark Kenyon.
I'm Dr. Julie Meechan.
I'm Steve Hansen.
I'm Jill Bebout.
Chad Gravy.
My name is Jeremy French.
I'm Laura Walter.
Carol Hawksbergen, owner of Hoxie Native Seeds, and this is the Prairie Farm Podcast.
This is Hal Herring, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Podcast.
Skip Sly, Iowa Whitetail.
Valerie Van Coten, State Historical Society of Iowa.
Dr. Matt Helmer at Iowa State University.
My name is Kyle Laubarger with the Native Habitat Project.
I'm Judd McCullum. I appeared out of the wilderness, and this is the Prairie Farm Podcast.
Welcome to the Prairie Farm Podcast.
One of my least favorite things in the whole world is dealing with red tape, paperwork, and bureaucracy. And at the very top of those things, insurance. I used to have, big company insurance because I thought me doing all the stuff online or with a robot phone call would be cheaper. Boy, was I wrong. My wife and I switched to McKay Insurance for everything personal and business that we interact with. And not only do we save over $1,000 a year, yes, $1,000 a year, we get to interact with real people. No longer having to deal with those robot phone calls, the terrible online interface. I mean, what is with those 1980 online interfaces? Well, we personally work with McKay Insurance. I can personally stamp my approval on working with them. I've worked with 5 different people from there. Every single one of them was incredible. And they give you big customer efficiency and pricing, if not better, with a very small company feel. They really take care of you. Highly recommend McKayInsAgency.com. That's McKayIns agency.com. You won't regret it.
You get your phone out and pull up my script so you don't.
So I don't ruin this podcast.
So you don't get me all out of order in how I have it.
Well, the last one just.
I put thought into this.
I know,
okay?
but the last one just happened in front of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when we started talking about farts, and that was it. We were off to the races on that broadcast.
Like you had to clarify because your chair. I'm still not sure it was your chair.
My new 5-finger toe sock showed up today.
Well, when the patio table starts going, you know it wasn't the chair. That's right.
No chair.
Oh, it's just a woodpecker. Barking spider. Yeah. Are you ready, Nick?
Sorry, I'm checking my email.
What is the matter with you?
I got distracted. Oh, man. I got it. I got it.
Ray, how many burn sheds are you up to this year? I guess I don't know. Redo that. How often do you find burn sheds when you do a prairie burn? Well, when we're doing prairie burns, even woodland burns, there are sheds around. I mean, there's always usually a few found here or there. Depends on the site. Depends on what's going on. Some people get more excited over them than others. I mean, I'm one of those people. I do deer hunt, but my saying is you can't eat the antlers. So that's right. Yeah,
that's true. Ken's the opposite.
That's true.
I've asked him before if he had to pick one. like a squirrel.
You're not supposed to.
What site when you're looking at it, and you look at the site and you go, oh, before you burn, there's sheds in there. What are you looking at?
I mean, it's just. In general, knowing how many deer are at the site. I mean, there's a lot of my sites that have very high deer populations, so there's going to be plenty of sheds in there usually. So I don't really collect them, so it's not a big pull on me. But I know that, like the site I was burning in yesterday at Jim Edgar Panther Creek, huge deer population there. We burned quite a few thousand acres there yesterday. It's going to be hammered hard for the next couple weeks of people out there looking for those golden trophies. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what's the biggest one you've ever found in a burn? You ever get one that's like over 80 inches? I couldn't tell you the measurement. I know I've had one. Somebody found one of my burns that had 14 points on one side.
What?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's crazy. Who went home with that sucker?
I don't know, and I don't know. I don't remember if it was on private ground or where it was. So it might have been the landowner, because I'm thinking it was the one private side. I think the landowner got it.
But you work with the DNR. What do you do with private landowners? Who's allowed to
have the DNR burn their stuff?
So we do have multiple programs within the DNR. So there's the Nature Preserves Commission, and so there's high-quality natural areas on private lands. So there is a land protection option there with them. And so if they protect their land, usually it's because there's either state-listed or federally listed species, meaning threatened or endangered species, or a high-quality natural area, which could be a hill prairie, could be oak woods, it could be any series of our natural area designations. And if they're high quality, then they can go into this protection plan. And so then with that, our NAPs, our natural area preservation specialists, do the same things on those lands as we do on the public lands, but we work hand in hand. So they help us on the public lands do burns, and then we help them on those private land sites that are protected in their system.
Yeah,
whenever we can. I mean,
interesting.
That's cool.
Iowa doesn't do anything like
no,
that.
I don't think that's true.
Specifically with burning, I don't know of any.
Yeah, I don't think we have. I don't. Yeah, I know they do some burning on some of the public land in Iowa for sure. But I don't know if that's just, the regular, state techs that biologist techs or whatever the term is, that are doing that work or they're assigned to a certain region or what. But
I even mean just like burning on private land.
Well, I don't know if on IHAP if there's some of that goes on, or if IHAP is just the voluntary access program, where someone can say, yeah, I'll open up my ground to pheasant hunters or deer hunters or whatever. And then the state gives them some kind of stipend. They may include in that, maybe some burn assistance. But that's a good question, Nick. That's a good question that there's an answer to, and we should find that answer for sure.
That
okay, so my next big opening question is, yesterday, as you said, you just burned 3,900 acres yesterday. Just estimating, how many acres do you think you've burned in your career?
That's a question I wish I had an answer to. This year so far, within my own district, I'm probably at around over 5,000. So probably this season so far, I'm at 6,000 or so, and we're still burning. I don't know. Been burning with DNR for over a decade, so extrapolate that out, probably 80,000 to 100,000 acres in Illinois.
Wow. Wow.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of burning.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number. I wish. There's people that tally how many burns they've been on, how many acres. I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
So.
And then you do some burning out west too?
We have a Western wildfire crew where we go out on Western fires for deployments. And
so you're working with like hot shot crews and stuff?
We're not a hot shot crew, but we'll work with whatever crews are paired with us. We'll cut in line. We'll do mop up operations. Whatever they need us to do, we'll do.
You ever have any like real bad close calls?
We've had some interesting days.
Yeah.
So
that's a pretty dangerous job. Those Western like smoke jumpers and hot shot crews. That's super dangerous. Some of that work.
And in unforgiving terrain. So
yeah, that's real. When you're burning on a prairie or on a larger landscape, what are the common mistakes that lead to being unsafe? Obviously, wind changing direction can just happen, and that's nothing you can do.
I got a question to pair with that. When you have to burn something and your gut just kind of does you get the butterflies looking at that like, I do not want to burn that. That just looks, even on the best condition day, that one makes me nervous.
So whenever I get feelings like that, I first usually go back to what's my weather forecast, what do my fuels look like, what's the burn history of this site, and then I'll also go talk to a colleague or two of mine that have a lot of burn experience as well, and just kind of run through it with them to make sure that we're checking all the boxes. But we have, anytime we're going to conduct a prescribed burn, we have to have a burn plan. And that burn plan has to be approved through multiple levels, and then we have to get associated permits and everything like that. And so, you can go through your burn plan. It's a good place to start. Make sure you're meeting all of your prescription requirements, temperature, humidity, wind speeds, wind directions, minimum crew specifications, things like that. And if you're meeting all of those, that gives you kind of that first better feeling. And then when you talk to who else you're working with that day, and depending on experience levels and who you have, a lot of that can dictate your overall feeling for the day. And we try not to have anything really go sideways. Knock on wood. When we've been burning here, we haven't had any of those big catastrophes or big things, big bad things happen.
Interesting.
So when people, so going back to Nicolas's question, when people get it wrong, it's usually because of one of those things that you mentioned that are a component to a burn plan they didn't figure in correctly.
That, or somebody usually, in most cases, somebody has done something, like you said, not according to the plan, or not with the proper crew supporting them, or something to that effect.
Sure.
In a lot of cases. I mean, obviously there is abnormalities that occur, and I mean, we all know how accurate weather forecasts always are.
Yeah,
I mean,
right, yeah.
They try their
we're
best.
We're supposed to be in the middle of a tornado right now.
Yeah, here we are outside.
Yeah, I mean,
we got a lot of driving left to do.
Yeah, I mean, they try their best. And
you boys ever see a fire-nado?
Yes, we have.
We had one with switchgrass. So there wasn't enough wind. There was basically no wind, and the fire created its own vortex, and it was just a fire-nado traveling through the field, and that was pretty freaky.
Yeah,
you know, I don't like that stuff one bit.
Yeah, we see those on generally a couple times. I mean, every year I see some. So
yeah.
Depends on how big they get.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's really interesting. And I guess, I mean, we could jump ahead since we're talking about it. I wanted to talk about the just proper burn conditions. So when you say things like humidity, wind speed, wind direction is probably the most obvious, but let's go with humidity and wind speed. Are there just ranges that's like, no burning today because, you know, it's this, the wind's this fast, or humidity's this low, or this high even, won't get a good burn? What are those guidelines?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of that's going to be site dependent. It's going to be, what are your fuels? What is your topography? What is around your unit? Like, what do your brakes look like? What's going on?
Sure.
So I mean, there's not really a one size fits all on it. And depending on the site, you might want more humidity versus lower humidity, depending on what your objectives of the burn are. In general, most of our burn plans for DNR, where we have professional crews that we've put together, that we burn a lot together, we'll usually have the range for humidity go down to around 20%. And I mean, usually the upper end of that is 75, 80%, but things aren't going to burn as good at that level. Wind speeds, we like them to be 20 or less at the 20-foot wind speed. And so depending on if you're burning in an open prairie versus a sheltered area, it depends on what the weather forecast says. And sometimes those wind speeds also are calculated into your dispersion indices to make sure your smoke's going to disperse properly if you have smoke sensitive areas around. It's like yesterday when we were burning up there at Jim Edgar. It's a large burn and a lot of smoke going to be going up, even though there is not really smoke sensitive areas right adjacent to it, or that would really meet that within a mile range or anything. We still are concerned with it, and so we're going to be putting so much smoke up. We don't want that smoke to go 20 miles down the road and settle out, so we want it to disperse well. And so there we have to have a dispersion index of good or excellent usually for some of those units. And to get that, you need the wind speed. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it: wind speed, atmospheric stability, all those different things play into each other to determine how the transport winds and all that play into that category. So you want to make sure it's good.
With humidity, if it gets too dry, obviously if it's too humid, it just doesn't burn well. But if it's getting too dry, is it just like the fire's more likely to jump? What's the risk there?
It gets extremely more volatile the less humidity there is, and especially when you get down into the teens, pretty much everything's going to start catching fire. All your
you
fuels.
Can just see like where the heat, you know, which fire is just basically visible heat, but you can see where just being something dry enough is in close enough proximity to that heat that it'll just ignite.
Yeah, I mean, that's where those single embers that can go and catch the base of a tree that's got a defect in it or an animal hole in it, catches in that little spot, and then that tree's gonna burn on those low humidity days. On days with higher humidity, a lot of times an ember, even if it lands in the same spot, it may not actually catch that snag tree on fire or
what do you do
like
when
that.
a snag tree catches fire? Do you just let it go, or
a lot of them, if we can't put them out, or if they're a threat to throwing embers over the line, we cut them down.
Okay.
So we try to put them out or cut them down.
Yeah.
So
Throwing embers over the line. That's interesting. Well, here's something. Everybody and their mom.
I never thought of that really, but a chainsaw is like a really critical piece of equipment when you're doing a timber burn.
Extremely important.
Yeah.
Extremely important.
Yeah, because have you ever done a timber burn?
No.
We've only done open prairie burns.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But everyone and their mom asking, hey, do you burn? Does anybody burn? And there are a lot of issues with it, and that's why there's not that many people that do it in Iowa. One of them is logistical. Let's say you have a list of 20 places you want to burn, and they all have different conditions you want to meet, different winds, different areas, different wind speeds, different wind dispersion that you're requiring depending on the road. I know. How do you organize that? How do you Wednesday we're going to do this one instead of this one? I know it sounds stupid, but is there like a software where you type in all the perfect conditions for each place and then
not that we use. I just use.
I think I just made someone $1 million.
Yeah, you probably did.
Somebody.
I'll be happy to test the software if you get it. But right now I just use a
Claude.
Yeah. Honestly, it wouldn't be that hard.
I just use a notepad and I write down all the sites at the beginning of the year that I want to burn. And then if there is a specific wind speed or wind direction or certain things that I'm looking for, I'll note that next to it. And the same with my colleagues, because we each have different districts, and so depending on the day, depend on whether I'm helping one of them burn or if I'm burning my own district. And so we just try to pick and choose based off a priority of burn site. And it could be the species present. So different sites we have to burn by certain dates or certain weather conditions to prevent causing harm to species present on them. And so we do prioritize sites with sensitive species on them over sites that don't have sensitive species.
What are some sensitive species you're looking for?
It depends on where you're at. It could be plants. There's certain plants that are obviously going to break dormancy before others, and
you're talking about those like early spring ephemeral kind of.
And some of those are state listed plants, so they're threatened or endangered, or just very conservative, and so we don't want to mess up things with those. Animals, you've got bats, federally and state listed bats that can be. You got to account for. The biggest one that a lot of people already know about is the reptiles, the snakes and the turtles.
Yeah, snakes get hammered by burns.
Right. It depends on the place and the timing and how things go, but there can be some mortality to them. Even frogs. So, I mean, in Illinois, we have the Illinois chorus frog. It's a state-listed frog species, and it inhabits our sand prairies, and sand burns substantially better than a lot of other prairies or woodland sites, and so we have to burn those before those frogs will come up, and they'll come up early spring. They're one of the first to come up. So
interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I never thought of it that way, but having to plan around, I wonder, did monarchs, did they ever get officially listed?
Oh. No, they didn't, and it's been a big deal. They basically are caught in limbo.
So I wonder if that were to happen, if they became federally listed as an endangered species, because this plays into kind of the next thing that I have here, burn timing. We're hearing more and more. I mean, this is about to be a great point. I'm so sorry. Can I have you pull your mic up just a little bit? I'm watching you talk over it. So conventionally, I will say, since settlement, since it became not the Native Americans who were doing the bulk of the burning on the land, spring is when most burning takes place. And now it seems to be transitioning where people are working in summer burns or working in fall burns, and we're finding more and more information out about that. Jeremy French I was telling you about, he's really big on doing a fall burn or a dormant season burn, which you guys are just about out of time for a dormant season burn right now. I mean, it's awfully green down here compared to where we're at. But let's say if monarchs were listed, would that cancel out basically all of summer, early fall burn window?
I don't,
because the caterpillars would be on the milkweeds and
well, I don't know that it would. It would really depend on what the regulations that come down are. Obviously, with all those different federal species, they have different conservation guidance documents, and so we would just have to see what those say and see what's going on with them. I mean, we have other butterfly species in the state of Illinois, such as the regal fritillary, that is a state-listed species that we manage sites for, and so I mean, depending on burn timing, you could vary burn timing, and in the case of those, sometimes you can look at a growing season burn to burn it during their flight time before they're going to lay their eggs. So that way you're not burning up the eggs or the larvae or anything like that. Just really depends on the species and overall their life cycle and conservation needs. So
yeah, it's a wrinkle I've never considered that. That's a really good point. Okay.
I mean, we talk about it a little bit with like pheasants, right? The burn during nesting season stuff for pheasants, or the habitat on our farm. But yeah, it is when you have a full ecosystem.
Yeah,
and I mean, our real issue is that we have so little of the ecosystem. That's the real issue.
Yeah.
You know, if there was more of it, then it wouldn't be a big deal at all.
Right. The bigger sites, and that's the thing, is historically fires were a lot bigger. Yeah. And so, I mean, when you have a bunch of everybody doing 40, 50 acre burns, yeah, they're very beneficial. They're very helpful. But if you have, in most cases, those burns they try to go through them and get every inch black because they think that if I burned this unit, I need this to all be black because otherwise I didn't accomplish my goal. Well, if you leave some of those areas with some unburned fuel or you have patchiness in it, that's all refugia for some of those insects, for some of those other species. And it can even be in the woods. I mean, we burn a ton of woodlands. And so that those areas that don't burn can be where you have acorns and stuff that have hit the ground, and so by not burning them up, you're allowing some of that oak regeneration. But just because it didn't burn this year doesn't mean that section isn't going to burn the next time.
Yeah.
And
if anything, it would have more fuel on it. That's interesting. It's another way that we as humans are controlled. Like, well, we got to have our categories. But this is a burn year. It all needs to burn this year, instead of just being let's chill out about this part. That's interesting.
And so, like at Siloam Springs State Park, we just did. I did a burn there. It was roughly 1,200 acres there of all timber. Wow. And we did that a couple weeks ago. And there's whole hillsides in there that didn't burn. And we didn't send people in to light them, and we didn't try to light them because we wanted, in that larger unit, we wanted areas that were unburned to provide that refugia for those species. And we've been out there. We've got an ongoing joint research project with Illinois College out of Jacksonville. There's a bat researcher there, Dr. Brian Arnold, and so we've been for the past I think this is the 7th this year. I think will be the 7th year of data collection. We've been monitoring the bat populations out there of burned units versus non-burned units, and then also whether the bat use of the current what was burned this current year versus what was burned the previous year. And so we're seeing some trends there. And,
wow.
And with the federally listed bats using those units, we're seeing that they are showing a preference towards the most recently burned units.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Where do bats live? I thought they just lived in soffits. Where are they? Just trees?
Maybe
Caves,
in the urban jungle,
bark,
but no, they live
trees.
underneath a lot of the federally listed bats you're going to see are going to in the snag trees underneath the flaking bark, in those type of areas. So
yeah.
Crazy.
Okay, so I want to come back to burn timing and just walk through what can be achieved by. I mean, can you burn all 4 seasons? So I want to come back to that. But before I do, it's basic. I think when we talk about burning, we talk with an assumption that everybody understands the purpose of why burning is a thing. But let's just start right there. What is being achieved when we burn a prairie?
So. Depends on, once again, all site dependent. I mean, so I have sites that are remnant prairies, and so obviously burning those is more of a maintenance thing to help set back some of the woody encroachment, to help cycle the nutrients in the prairie, promote, depending on timing. If you burn in the fall, you're going to be promoting more of your forb species. If you burn it in the spring, you're going to be promoting more of your grass species. And So, I mean, just depends on what you're looking at. And so there's other prairies that are more degraded where we've done more cutting and we've got more slash on the ground. So we may be burning to burn up some of that material so that way we can seed it. We could have had a timber mulch or a fecon head in there mulching stuff up, and so we could be trying to burn up that mulch to then allow the prairie to come back through. We've done a lot of that with the Illinois Hill Prairie Partnership. Where we're working on mostly with that, we're working mostly on private lands. It's a cooperative thing between the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Pheasants Forever, Quail Unlimited, NWTF. I mean, all whole group, Prairie Land Conservancy and Land Trust. I mean, everybody working together to try to do this, and so we'll work on those sites, try to get that mulch up so we can restore these hill prairies.
When do you burn that, and what is that burn like? We've never done that, or I don't think you've done that. I've never done it, and when you burn prairie, it's like burning newspaper, right? It's just whoosh, but mulch seems very different.
So it's usually interspersed with the prairie grasses and stuff there, and so there's areas that are solid mulch, and they will burn, and sometimes they'll burn for quite a long time, for a week even at times.
We just talked about this with Thomas Mills. I was wondering on a mulch site if you could just burn it up.
So that's one where typically if we're going to do one of those, obviously the higher the humidity, the less likely the mulch is to burn. So if you're not wanting the mulch to burn, you're going to go with a higher humidity day when that mulch is carrying moisture. Otherwise, you're going to want to burn it when you got lower humidity and it's dry all the way through. And if you do that, you're going to have you're going to be investing a lot of time.
Yeah.
You're going to do a lot of monitoring with it, but you will get it. You can get a lot of that consumed, or you can get it to a point where you can seed through a lot more of that.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what's going on.
Along those lines, I just talked about this with Judd yesterday, who is the person who led us to you. He was doing a site visit, and these folks had a lot of eastern red cedar encroachment that they needed to remove. And I've always just thought, cedars burn really, really well. Could you not just do a perimeter back burn around the whole hillside covered in cedars and then just go into the middle and just light that baby on fire and burn all those cedars up on that hillside?
I wish you could.
You can't?
Here in Illinois, it doesn't really work that good. I mean, you might get a few of them to torch up, unless you're in really, really drought conditions with really low RH and you have enough fuel to get those trees to go. It's really hard.
If they were surrounded with switchgrass, would you? And the fires
get the
rolling
ones on
through.
the edge.
Okay.
I mean, and then it would die out as you got
So
in.
So people that are nervous about burning like a cedar hillside, they could probably actually do it. Okay.
I don't always want to make that recommendation because depending on.
You think they should just throw a match out there?
Go get dinner and come back and see what's left.
Yeah, I mean, everything's site dependent, but we have a lot of, so it sounds kind of almost like maybe he was at a hill prairie, because we do try to manage some of those, and we've tried to run fire through a lot of those cedars. It'll burn out the bottoms of them, but the tops will still be there, and so they'll still gonna grow. They're still gonna produce seed, and the birds are still gonna eat it, and they're still gonna spread it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're not.
So you really need to mulch it.
I mean, yeah. Well, that or cut it and pile it, or something to that effect. It also depends on the size of these cedar trees. I mean, if you're talking cedar trees that are a couple feet versus cedar trees that are 30, 40 feet tall, I mean, there's a big difference in how they're going to go. Yeah. So, I mean, and whether or not you're going to get the
like
kill
little
rate
Christmas trees. Do you think those would go up?
Yeah, like the small ones, as long as they're interspersed in grass. If you run a fire through that and it burns them up, or at least gets all the needles pretty brown, there's a good chance that I mean, if it burns it up, it's pretty well going to die. So then you've set it back. You've set that succession back, and that's the goal that you're going for.
Right.
And so there's a lot of those projects where, when we burn them, you'll have not a real thick grass layer yet, but you'll have cedar trees that are 1 or 2 foot tall, and we'll run a fire through them, and it'll kill those out for us. It'll clean them up rather than having to go back through and cut all those little bitty sprouts.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just when they get big, and I mean, honestly, for somebody who cuts these trees, and stuff on these hill prairies, I hate cutting cedar trees that have been burned through. I mean, cedar trees are bad enough to cut to begin with, but once you burn through them, then you've got even more dried needles. You've got more of that stuff that's just falling on you, and
down your shirt collar and everything else.
That's fair.
Yeah, they're not. They get less fun to cut once they're even burned. So
interesting.
Yeah, they are not fun to cut.
I'm wondering, like, we're talking about utility of burning. Obviously, there's all sorts of things and niche things that we could go into, but I'm very curious about invasive weeds.
Okay.
The ones that we hear a bunch, obviously Brome, reed canary, Canada thistle. Those are the hard to get rid of it. Now we know Brome can definitely be set back. Reed canary, I've heard mixed reviews where people say, well, yeah, you burn it and then you graze it and then you're good. But I'm wondering if you've had any experience with it.
So you can set some of them back like that, but depending on what you got, the Brome and the reed canary, I mean, we almost always still have to use chemical associated. Our bigger ones that we're dealing with a lot of, one of the larger ones, sericea lespedeza.
Oh yeah. What do you do with it?
So some people are growing season burning for it and having good results.
Growing season burning, July, August.
Yeah, so they're doing a growing season burn. Then they're following that up with chemical in a lot of cases because it will still come back up, resprout back up before a lot of the other stuff will turn green and come back up.
Do goats like it? Do you know?
I believe that they
I feel
eat
like
it,
it's kind of a brushy thing that, I mean, it's not a brush, but it feels a little stemmier. And I wonder if goats wouldn't hammer it.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It's so thick though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like if you burned it and then when it was coming back.
Goats are technically browsers and not grazers, right? So
and I think they're going to eat off a lot of your other native stuff that you're wanting to promote as well too.
That's
fair.
I mean, I know people that are using it for brush control and honeysuckle and that kind of stuff, and helping clean up some woods and places like that. I don't know how it's working on sericea per se, but there's two schools of thought with the sericea. Some people are doing the growing season burns followed with herbicide treatments. The other method, like the site I said we were burning yesterday, was Jim Edgar. There's a lot of sericea problems out there, and so what we've been doing is we've been burning in the dormant season because of some sensitive species out there that we don't want to burn during the summer and cause harm to. So we're burning in dormant season, which is actually stimulating the seed bank of the sericea. So it's actually causing more of it to grow, but what that's doing is then we can spray it. So we're getting rid of all that thatch, and so then our chemical treatments are even more effective because it's resprouting back up and we're hitting it, and what we're actually doing is exhausting that seed bank, because that sericea seed can persist in the seed bank for many years.
It's a legume, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it can persist for tons of years, and so by continuously getting it to sprout back up and stimulate that seed bank, we're using that seed bank up sooner. And some areas where we had 98% sericea coverage in a field, 6 years later now with this burning and spraying regime, we're down to only a couple percent.
Wow. But you burning and spraying every year for 6 straight years.
Yes.
Wow.
But
sericea is a
we're
problem.
getting a really good handle on it, and this isn't just in a typical ag field. This is in a decent quality natural area, and so our other species are still responding well because we're spraying as late in the year as we can. So most of those other species are starting to senesce, especially the more conservative ones that we're most concerned about.
So why does sericea hang out still when the other ones are senescing?
Well, because it's not flowering till later in the year. It's flowering in August time frame. And so that's when we're hitting it. And so
so if anything, you might be hurting maybe some of the later asters or goldenrods.
Yes,
but
we're
those
hitting
are
a lot
easier.
of those.
Those are a lot easier to have come back than some of those ephemerals. Wow, that is fascinating.
And there is some of those other later season forbs that we have hit harder. But the other thing is too is the sericea will take over and knock those out anyway.
Absolutely.
And so we've been watching this closely for the last 6-7 years now, and we're seeing very positive results.
Do you ever use a chemical wiper? What are they called?
Just
a roller,
just a wiper bar.
Wiper bar?
Yeah, we don't use those on large scale here in Illinois too much. We're using a lot of high-boy ag sprayers and drones anymore.
Yeah.
The drone industry and the technology with them is really, really pretty cool. And the how tight of spots they can get into, the effectiveness they can treat it with, and not disturbing the ground at all in doing so is really cool.
And they like even with Roundup, because I have a friend who does drone spraying, and he says Roundup and some of the other chemicals, he has like fungicide does great because you don't need nearly as much, but he can struggle to get plant
Nick has got the coffee jitters bad. His legs are going over.
I'm really excited. I'm really enjoying this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hear a lot of stuff over and over again, but you have told me probably 10 things already that I have not heard on any other podcast.
I know, it's just so entertaining when you're all methed out on coffee. I put this guy to work.
Well, and so
we're not doing much of the fungicide, and I haven't done many like Roundup treatments with drones. I'm more doing broadleaf control and brush control and sericea control. So I mean, more of the chemicals I'm using are Pasture Guard and those.
Is that what you're using on the sericea?
Sericea, yeah, Pasture Guard is one of was probably my most chosen chemical.
People like that on Canada Thistle too, right?
Yeah, a lot of a lot of people use it for a lot of grazing lands. I mean, that was what it was originally designed for, but it does work really effectively against sericea. There's other chemicals as well, Vaselan and Escort XP are two others. I mean, depending on what you're spraying around, you also have to be careful. I mean, different ag fields, different sensitive plant species. Yep. You really got to watch your mix. But the nice thing with those drones is versus a helicopter or anything, you have a lot less drift issues.
Right.
And you can have that application height be lower and have less issues like that.
I always thought chemical spraying was like making chili. You could just kind of throw whatever in there. And
that's not true.
Mixing concoction. No, I would never do that. So, and one more thing on the invasive. Sorry, and then we'll run on over the Canada Thistle. Do you ever use burning to set that back, or do you even have much of that over here?
We do have Canada Thistle. It's not usually one of my main burn objective species.
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, the rosettes could be damaged with fire if you have a good enough thatch layer there to put some heat on them. But I mean, if the flower stalk is there, the seed's already out there in the environment. So you're not going to do, unless you did a growing season burn on it before the flower's fully set seed and knocked them back that way. But
interesting. Okay. I was just curious.
I don't have much experience, like I said, with that. That's not usually one of my burn objectives.
Do you ever use that same progression of burn to spray that you do with sericea? Do you ever do that with brome, where because brome is a cool season grass, let's say you burn now, early March, and then boom, that's going to be one of your first things to green up, and it's going to be a month before your warm season plants are there, and then go in with a herbicide application. Do you do that?
Yeah,
sometimes?
we've done that burn and then chemical app stuff for brome and cool season grass issues where they're infiltrating prairies. So yeah,
that's good to know. That's a common problem in the prairie reconstruction world.
Getting rid of that thatch down there. I mean, even if it doesn't do a whole ton to set back the actual brome grass itself, getting rid of that thatch, getting that new growth to come up.
Yeah, it gets that soil black, so it soil temps spike, and then it greens up faster, and you can go.
You can get that flush of it, and you can get a better kill rate. Yeah, I mean, the less stuff that your chemicals, the more of your plant that's exposed that you can get the chemical on, obviously.
Yeah, the
better kill rate you're going to have.
A lot of companies talk about conservation, but I want to tell you about a company that actually puts their money where their mouth is. birdhuntersupply.com is a great company. I know the owner, Joe. He's a great dude. We've had the privilege of working with him, and let's just say he really puts his money where his mouth is. A large percentage of his profits from Bird Hunter Supply go to a conservation organization of your choice at checkout. So your purchase actually puts money towards conservation, and it's not just a roundup. It's not just asking you to donate on top of your purchase. This is included with your purchase. This man is running his very own small business version of Pittman Robertson, except without all the government stuff. I'm a big fan of that. So whether you're buying hunting apparel, decoys, dog training gear, you are actually going to be giving back to conservation. That is my friend Joe at birdhuntersupply.com. We love that company. We love what they have going on. Oh, and they do a really great job with their website. Makes it very easy. birdhuntersupply.com.
So
yeah, no, that's all super practical and super useful information. Okay, let's go back to or wait, let's answer this question here. What happens when a prairie just goes unburned? Obviously, it's an important enough thing that's your I mean, at least this time of year, your main line of work, and so if it wasn't that important, I don't think Illinois DNR would. I used to be a resident of Illinois. There's not money coming out of the state's budget
flowing into the DNR.
It's not just flowing into the DNR. So it's obviously it's obviously quite an important process to happen to have a healthy landscape. What happens? What are the symptoms of a prairie that goes unburned?
So I mean, obviously succession is going to occur, and so as succession occurs, you're going to go from your grasslands to you're going to have some of your shrubs and then trees, and slowly but surely it's just going to continue to transition to a shrubland with interspersed trees. Then ultimately the trees are going to grow bigger, and you're going to end up with woodlands. I mean, that's standard textbook succession. And so there's pretty much I forget who it was that said it, but they said there's 3 methods to deal with succession: the axe, the plow, and the match. And the axe is expensive these days. It's not cheap it takes a long time to chainsaw things down or cut them down. It's expensive to run machinery, and those things can also cause soil disturbances. You can have invasive species brought in on those machines if they're not cleaned properly.
And you can kill the prairie out.
Yeah, you can have issues with that. But they're very effective. We use them a lot. But the plow, obviously, we don't want to plow up our prairies. And then the match. The match is probably your most cost-effective tool to help set that succession back. I mean, it goes through those prairies. It puts that heat on those stems of those woody species, causes it to break those vascular tissues down a little bit and sets them back. And sometimes it just top kills them. Sometimes it, depending on the species, can wipe them out a little bit. Just depends on what's actually going on there. Like you asked about cedars earlier. Cedars are one that usually if you get it all the way burned, it's not going to resprout because but yeah, you're setting that succession back. And depending on how long it's been since it burned, I prefer on my prairies, there's some prairies I burn every year. Every single year I try to burn them. Some of it's for the sericea management. Others is because if you don't burn them regularly, that fuel load, that thatch load gets so much higher. And so the problem with that is then obviously your ground nesting birds, your quail, your pheasants, those type of things can't move. Box turtles struggle to move through all that thatch, and it can cause issues for them. But the other thing is that fuel load gets so high that then too, when you run that fire through, it can almost be more of a in a prairie, it could be more similar to like some of those western fires when you see all the trees, all the crown fire ran through and destroyed the habitat more. But if you do an every year burn or so, that fuel load doesn't get that high, so you won't have that full scorched earth as much, and the heat isn't near as intense, and so a lot of those insects and a lot of those things closer to the ground are not being impacted as much, and so you'll have more of a skirting fire than you will just one of those raging head fires that's ripping across. I mean, and personally, I like a really good backing fire. Does a lot more good on a lot of these prairies than sending that big head fire. That head fire is just an instant burst of heat, where that resonance time of that slow backing fire puts that heat on those stems and really does a good job. Also provides a lot more chance for wildlife to escape, to not have any issues, reduce some of those issues and all that associated. So
yeah, that's I mean, exactly what I was looking for there. The reasons for why we do it. I have heard this I don't know if it's criticism, might be too strong of a word, but I have heard someone say, I thought the point of prairie, one of the advantages of it, we'll say, is that it is carbon sequestration. But when you light it on fire, you're releasing all that carbon into the atmosphere. And I mean, we don't need exact math numbers here, but is there a just so explanation for how it it all checks out in the end?
I'm not a big expert in that field. I mean,
serious biometrics.
Yeah, that's. I'm sure there's some statistician or chemist out there that would have a real good answer for that. But yeah, I mean, Prairie's are sequestering that carbon, and as they're burning, yes, there is things being released. But overall, for the health of that prairie and for it to continue to thrive, usually you're going to need some kind of disturbance factor, and that disturbance factor can be fire, it could be strip disking, it could be in some cases mowing, but overall fire, I mean, when you mow, you're promoting other species. When you're disking, it all depends on the site and what you can do. And there's some areas you can't burn because of different situations, neighboring properties, infrastructure, stuff like that. Sometimes there's just places that you can't get a fire on, and so then you do have to do some of those other methods. But overall, fire seems to be our best.
What do you see in the difference year 2, 3, 4 after either a burn versus doing strip disking, which we don't like?
Yeah, so depends on soil types and everything associated. So some of my sand prairies, I've got a sand prairie that I couldn't get fire on for quite a while just because of certain factors involved. And so we did strip disking on it. The sand prairies are very sparse. There's not a ton. There's a lot of bare sand. And the grasses are typically shorter, not as tall or anything. And the forb component, still, it's all very sparse. I mean, you're talking stuff that has, in Illinois, we have cactus growing in it, which a lot of people don't realize. We have native cactuses in Illinois. But when you run fires through that, it does really well. But when you disc it, it has a lot of the same effects because it's just helping reduce that succession and create that disturbance of the soil. So some of those seeds that have landed on the surface of that sand haven't gotten worked in at all, but we just do it lightly. We don't go real deep. And so usually when I've done it on those, I've done it really late in the fall. And so they disc lightly, and a lot of those bunch grasses, I've actually gone out there and looked in the spring, and so through the freeze and thaw of the winter and the snow and everything else, it's kind of actually put that bunch grass clod back kind of in the furrow, and that same bunch then is rerooting partially and growing back up.
Interesting.
So it's not like we don't do our strip disking, when I say that, isn't like what you envision for conventional tillage in an agricultural setting. It's a lot less impactful. So, but I don't usually like to do that in my tall grass prairies or anything like that, because it seems to set things back a lot further and actually can create more issues for invasive species coming in when you break that sod up.
The only thing that I am excited about for disking in a prairie field is the anthills. If you do a real light disking, you can bust up those, because some of those things, if you get a prairie that was planted really well 20 years ago.
What do you have against ants?
Well, I mean, they're just ugly.
Wait a minute here. Oh, you can't tell me any insect's ugly.
So, well, and let's say they go in 20 years ago into the CRP, and then at 10 years their prairie still looks good, so they re-up. And then at the 20-year mark, it doesn't quite look good enough, so they have to redo it. Those are rough, man. If they don't disc it down to, or disc it.
Yeah, but some of that though is like if that's where, the anthills might be a symptom of a healthy, mature prairie.
No, I don't have an issue with
they
the
got
anthills.
an ecosystem services they provide you there.
I'm just saying, I think the best use for disking in a field is if we're going to come in afterwards and plant it.
It's just for your own personal comfort.
Yeah.
On that tractor seat, so you're not bouncing as hard.
I need air conditioning and really good shocks on my tractor. Look, I did not.
Wait, you got shocks on your tractor?
Listen.
Tractor are you using?
Ken came to work for us after most of our tractors, or after our main tractors had air conditioning.
I did not get air conditioning on that job, but I was thankful I didn't, because you and Carol were like, fighting over the crumbs of air conditioning that those two tractors had. I just had the doors off of my cab.
I was raised on a 70-80 Alice Chalmers and 185 Alice Chalmers, and there was no air conditioning.
Yeah, I've
and now I'm spoiled.
I have not benefited much from the air conditioning on tractors. I'm just here to tell you that.
The percentage of time that they've worked, it's not very long.
Most of my tractor hours have been without it.
But that's funny.
But so, along with that, and I'm going to go back to timing after this question. Can burning ever be negative? I mean, it just seems, it seems like fire good. You know what I mean? Like it's oversimplified to, oh, you know what, that prairie needs some fire, and
it's like everything else. Fire is a tool in your toolbox. I mean, you're gonna go fix your computer with a hammer. I mean, it's gonna fix it once. You're not gonna have to deal with it again, right? But it's one tool in your toolbox. And so if improperly applied, fire can be negative. Like I said earlier, we look at timing for certain species. We look at timing for different objectives. And so if you're not timing it properly for the objectives of your site, then it could be negative. And if you burn a site underneath the wrong weather conditions, like your RH is too low for that site, you could have negative impacts depending on whether it's a woodland, a prairie, or whatever's going on. You could have negative impacts and that's why we have those prescriptions. And so within the Illinois DNR, we have different divisions within the Office of Resource Conservation. So we have our Forestry Division, our Natural Heritage Division, which is myself. We have our Fisheries Division. We have our Forestry Division. Even for some of my burns, I actually can even consult our fisheries biologists because they're around our lakes and streams, and I don't want to have issues with those species, even if depending on what's going on with erosional issues or anything like that. But everybody looks at these plans to make sure that it's going to accomplish the goals for our game species and our non-game species, and also our forest resources. And ultimately, our fire program manager, Ben Snyder, he is out of more southern Illinois, but he's ultimately responsible for all of the wildfire program and he's our fire program, so he's over it all. He has a few people, obviously regionals working underneath him, but they have to review all these burn plans as well, even after those of us in the field have conferred on them, to make sure that all the boxes are checked, the T's are crossed. I mean, everything's good. And then those all also go to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency for permitting. We have to coordinate through the Shawnee Dispatch Center with the Forest Service down there. So there's a lot of people involved on our side. Now, private landowners in Illinois, you're supposed to have a approved prescribed burn plan, which depending on who you're working with, it could be the NRCS office, could be Pheasants Forever has some farm bill biologists that are really good. They have they also have a couple of fire coordinators in the state that are helping get prescribed burn associations up and going. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Partners Program is actually working with them too to help bolster that, and so they can write those burn plans and help the landowners apply for the EPA permit, the open burning permit, so that way then they can properly apply fire to their property or land.
Yeah, that's really good to know, and a good perspective to have, that a good powerful tool can be used correctly and it can be used incorrectly.
Yeah,
and it's good to remember that.
I mean, you could cause major damage to some places if not applied properly.
Sure,
especially certain species.
Well, that plays in well then as we head back to our burn timing. I guess right now we're dormant season. Technically, it's still winter right now.
Correct.
Next week, is it? Yeah, next week is the vernal equinox.
Is that next week already?
I think so.
It's the 21st, right?
20. I can never remember if it's the 20th, the 21st, or the 22nd. I think it's I think you might be right. It might be the 21st. But so I guess maybe not next week, a little bit later than that. But let's go with this time of year, dormant season burn. What's the goal with a dormant season burn?
It's still setback succession, nutrient cycling, depending on, it could be prepping for seeding, could be prepping for further contractor work or invasive species.
Does it promote forbs to do a dormant season?
Dormant season burning, if it's true dormant season, would help with your forb versus your grasses. at this point in the spring here in Illinois, I would say that you're kind of getting past that
you're getting more to benefiting the grasses.
The grasses at this point. But there is some species even now that are, I mean, prairie lilies and stuff like that are going to be coming up. So I mean, if it's almost getting to that spring,
sure,
that full spring area.
So
I mean, the honeysuckle's starting to break dormancy. So I mean, we're getting out of that with this last rains and this warm snap. I mean, it's 80 degrees almost today.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I mean,
yeah, it's nice
so
and warm.
They're starting to break some dormancy, and so I would say you're hitting that spring. I mean, the ditches are greening up, so you're hitting that spring season now.
So then that takes us to the next one, which is spring, which is just purely just going to benefit grass. And set back some of your cool season grasses.
Yeah, set back some of that, and also nutrient cycling and succession. Setting back succession, invasive exotic species management, those type of things.
I talked to professionals. He's done years and years of burning. We worry about if you burn kind of later spring, you really set back your forbs and your grasses kind of take over. So
by later spring, are you saying like May?
Yeah, second half of April and later.
Yeah, we try to stop most of our burning. In my area, we're done by mid-April.
Okay. So if you burn something right at the end of that time frame, right in the middle, April 15, April 18, something like that, and you really help your grasses, he said that, yeah, that year your grasses will be like, they'll really come in strong, but by the next year the forbs come back. Has that been your experience?
Depends on the site, but yeah, I mean, in general, it depends on what forbs. I mean, some of the more conservative forbs and things like that, maybe not as much as more of your common forbs or your ones that are in the CRP plantings and things like that, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it is going to promote those grasses at least for that year, and depending on how much stronghold they take and what the resilience of those forbs are.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Okay, summer burn. What's getting benefited and what's getting harmed?
So, like I said earlier, we'll do some growing season burns for sericea, lespedeza management. Summer burns they've got a lot less intensity to them. They're a lot of smoke. They don't move near as quickly because there's a lot more moisture in the fuel.
Is that maybe a good way if you have like a really tough to burn site because there's buildings around or something like that? Could a summer burn be a good compromise there? Or
well, if you got a lot of buildings around, it depends on.
They don't want the smoke.
I was gonna say you're gonna have a lot more smoke
Yeah.
Associated. But I mean. Yeah, so I mean those growing season burns they're going to help with control of a lot of your woodies and some of those invasive species, but you really gotta also know what species you're managing for on your site. Like, I hate to say that there's one thing that fits everything because, I mean, across all the sites that I cover, I mean, each one has obviously different burn objectives. So so once you determine what your objectives are, you figure out what your burn timing is going to be.
Sure.
So.
And can you like really hurt some high conservative or high conservation value forbs?
Yeah, so I mean,
burn?
there could be some annual forbs out there that are state listed, and on one of my sites that is the case. And if you burned it off, I mean, there's not many plants of it to start with.
Right.
So if you burn it off and you lose that seed production for that year, it could be detrimental to that species.
Yeah, that's good to know. Okay, fall burn, we'll say maybe, when should we start fall? September?
We usually start our fall season in October.
Okay.
And so
you're trying to get posts. Well, you guys don't really get a freeze until November,
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, October is the start of our fall burn season. Here, you're not going to really be burning many woods at all in October unless it's really dry. But typically,
or you just aren't seeing any deer, and you need your buddy in the tree stand on the other side.
I mean, typically there's enough moisture carried through the ground flora, or if there isn't the ground flora, then it's usually, if you have a nice healthy woodland, you've got a nice ground cover there going on, and you've got all the layers. You got the ground layer, the mid-story, the canopy layers. And so with that shade net, it holds enough moisture that it typically doesn't burn well. Your other thing is if you have degraded woodlands, they're filled with invasive exotic species such as honeysuckle and multiflora rose, and they're going to hold the moisture, and their leaf litter doesn't burn very well, so it's still not going to burn very well in the woods. So we're only usually burning grassland sites at that point, and a lot of times if you have some woody encroachment going on that you want that lower humidities and stuff for, you can sometimes get that done. Or some of those prairie sites where we've had some of that timber mulching done, a lot of times you can get those lower humidities and the fuel moisture is lower. You can get some of those to burn better then. Once again, it comes down to your objectives. So great advice there. And then winter takes us back to dormant season. So for that, is it best if you're going to do a dormant burn, is it best to do it as early in the dormant season as possible? Or with as many sites as we have to burn, we burn them when they meet the prescription, when we can get a crew there. Do
you ever try and burn while there's snow on the ground?
We have burned when there's snow on the ground.
Wow. How'd that go?
Once again, the site, it works great on some of those sites because we'll have some of those hill prairie opening areas or some of those like that where the sun's hitting and it melts the snow off of those areas, but the woods is still holding the snow, and so those might be areas where there's really steep terrain, you can't get much equipment in there, or you have a lot of snags and issues, or can't get a good fire break in, and so when the snow is on the ground, it can be an excellent fire break, and so you can light it then, and it's not going to carry through the woods, but it'll burn out the prairie and help set back some of that succession, which is also kind of like in the growing season. So some of those hill prairies, will burn some of those in the growing season because we can't get good, adequate control lines around it. And so the woods around it's green enough and carry enough moisture that it won't burn, or will burn very low intensity that we can control it, and so we can go in and burn those out.
Interesting.
With a lot less effort.
Yeah.
Oh man,
this is all excellent. I mean, this is like burning 101.
Yeah.
I mean, just truly a great resource that you've put together here for us personally, but also for our listeners and a lot of our customers who buy seed from us and ask questions about burning. One last, or I got just a couple questions left here, and I know you got to get back to work and we got to beat this tornado weather, but urban burns. So we have a lot of clients who they don't own much land, but they want to make a difference where they can. So they put in a pollinator patch in their yard, and they wonder about burning it. You got any tips for, like, should they try and mow it off first before they burn? Should they do it during a certain time of the year?
So, I mean, a lot of obviously you're gonna have to consult your local laws, regulations, permit requirements, all those.
Just
kind of
roast
things.
Hot dogs over it. And then it counts as a cookout, right?
Well, I mean, I mean, obviously they need to. They're gonna have to check in to make sure that they can legally burn it if they want to burn it, and what's required. I mean, there's all kinds of HOAs, there's all kinds of ordinances and stuff associated. So that aside. Saying that it is legal and they got everything they need to burn it. You mentioned mowing it off first. You could, but in a lot of cases, from what I've seen here in Illinois, those pollinator plantings are in amongst cool season grass. Like it's in their lawn, and then it just goes to that. And so a lot of times mowing that off seems to allow that cool season grass to obviously work in there a little easier.
Okay.
But to burn it off, if you just, I mean, depending on if you're wanting those forbs, trying to burn it off sometimes in the fall, early fall can be good, because that can then allow some of that plant matter to resprout a little bit even and green up, and then also your fall leaves and stuff can fall in there if you have trees around your yard, and can provide good habitat for a lot of insects and stuff like that. Otherwise, waiting until spring, once some of that stuff can emerge a little bit, because a lot of times those are just little islands of biodiversity, and so there's not a whole lot of refuge around. So when you burn that up, that's all that's there.
Right.
So and if the species eggs or larvae are in there, then, because in most cases, obviously you said pollinator plantings, you don't want to burn up what you're trying to promote.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good point.
That's real. Do you have a rule of thumb or relative guidelines when you are creating your burn break?
So, typically you want a break that is going to down to bare mineral soil for most parts. That makes it the easiest break. When I'm doing woodland burns anymore, we try to make sure it's mostly ATV accessible, just for efficiency purposes, and it is also safer when you can get more equipment in and out of a place for containment. But usually those are around 6 foot wide, and we'll blow them out with a leaf blower or a blower mounted on an ATV or something like that. And then we will back burn into those to widen it out with black. So even though our burn break is only so wide, we will increase the width of that by our ignition techniques and letting that fire back in and create more black before you ever would have a head fire or anything else coming towards that line. So, and that's the same with a prairie. So you may have a due to the heat that comes off of a lot of tall grass prairies, if you've got a 6 foot tall prairie grass field and you mow a 6 foot wide path down it, and that's going to be your burn break. A lot of times the tops, as that fire goes, will burn the tops of that grass off and it'll fall over. And so you got to be monitoring it, because if you don't make it wide enough, that could fall over and actually start the other side of the prairie on fire. Plus, the amount of heat in the embers on that small of a break is low, or is very high, is that you're going to have them going across. So usually 1.5 times your flame length is a good rule of thumb, but you can have your break be narrower if you're going to build your break using black as well. And you can effectively do that in the fuel type that you're in.
Interesting.
So, yeah, in prairies, a lot of times people are like, well, I mowed a break in. Well, when did you mow that break in? And then what resources do you have to hold it in there? Because just because you mowed it in doesn't mean it won't burn across. That thatch that's there could burn across. Even the grass that's still there that you mowed off could still burn across that break. So if you don't have other equipment there to help manage that, or depending on what size it is, whether it's a machine with a spray unit or blowers, or just personnel with flappers, or whatever you're using, scale really depends on what you got there. But in a prairie, if I'm burning a tall grass prairie, I usually I've got a 6 foot mower deck that I would mow them in with, and I'll usually mow 3 passes with it to get roughly 18 feet or so, because that gives enough space to light it and have the ATV and personnel have a place that they can stand far enough away to get out of the main part of the heat if they need to. Yeah. But it's still, if you got a head fire hit that break, it's not going to stop it. Yeah. So that's why you have to build that black as you go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's fantastic.
Well, we have one last question for you. If there was one thing that you could change about how people, what they understand about or how they view burning, what would that be?
One thing. Well, overall, properly applied prescribed fire is one of our most effective, cost-efficient, time-efficient methods of setting back succession and promoting healthy prairies and woodlands here in Illinois. And that would be what I would want them to realize.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think it's getting there. I think people are getting more and more on board with it. I kind of roughly remember when I started to take notice of a lot of burning going on in the landscape. It's probably like maybe 15, maybe 20 years ago I started to kind of notice it. But now, every spring, you just see the smoke on the horizon. And I guess I meant to ask you that. Are you amazed that states just allow any old local yokel to go out there and drop a match and burn his CRP or burn his pasture off or prairie planting?
Am I amazed that that's allowed?
Maybe I didn't phrase that right. Do you like? To me, it just seems such a risky thing where so much property could be damaged, life could be lost.
You're right. Improperly applied prescribed fire can cause major issues. You could have, especially in Illinois, there's been very few large wildfires that have crossed many boundaries. here we've got a lot of, obviously we're very agricultural dominated. We have a lot of ag fields, a lot of roads. I mean, you look at an aerial view of Illinois, it's like a checkerboard of roads all around it. Now, there's fires that will jump roads. They will cross roads relatively easily, especially with tall grass prairie or corn stubble burning. But for the most part, that's why I think that here we do have issues with burning, and we have field fires all the time. But they don't go large scale. And I think that if there was more large scale issues like that, I think you would see more regulations put in.
You'd have to
regarding
have
it.
a burn permit or something. Or
Well,
a
you're
license.
supposed to, in Illinois, to burn, you're supposed to have an approved burn plan and an Illinois Environmental Protection Agency open burning permit.
Wow, that's crazy. You don't have to have any of that. You just got to call. It's just advised that you call the local authorities, be like, hey, I'm burning, so don't send the cavalry if you see smoke.
No, here in Illinois for private landowners, that's what they're supposed to have. But the lion's share of landowners, I don't even know if they know they're supposed to have that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Nick, you wanna wrap this one up here?
I think so. We got to beat this tornado, but this day is beautiful.
I know, and this was such a great conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed. I learned a bunch. I really appreciate you coming out, Ray. That was really cool. Yeah. Well, we came out here, but you stopped what you were doing for an hour and a half to hang out with us, and that's not a small deal, especially during this busy season. But I mean, you really know what you're talking about, and we appreciate it because conservation happens with people like you, people who have spent their life learning about it and then implementing it. And as everyone here knows, conservation happens one mind at a time.